All right, let's talk about one of the biggest financial decisions you're probably going to make for your retirement. It's the classic showdown, traditional versus Roth 401k. Now, it seems super complicated, right? But what if I told you it all boils down to one single question?
Yep, that's it. Pay the tax man now or pay him later. And believe me, your answer to that simple question has huge consequences for how much cash you'll actually have in your pocket when you retire.
It wasn't always this way. Your grandparents, they probably had a pension, and the company figured most of this stuff out for them. But today, nope, the ball is in your court. The responsibility to make the right tax choice is all on you. And honestly, the stakes have never been higher.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this all down. We'll start with the two main options, traditional and Roth. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of how to actually choose the right one for you. And you'll want to stick around for the end because we're going to cover the brand new rules from the Secure 2.0 Act that are, frankly, a total game changer.
All right, let's dive in. First up is the OG, the classic, the traditional 401k. Its biggest claim to fame, its superpower, if you will, is that it gives you a tax break right now. And the magic behind that is something called a pre-tax contribution.
So what is that? Well, it's pretty much what it sounds like. Imagine your paycheck before Uncle Sam gets his hands on it. With a pre-tax contribution, a chunk of that money is whisked away into your 401k before your taxes are even calculated. Poof! Just like that, your taxable income for the year is lower. And a lower taxable income means, you guessed it, a smaller tax bill today.
Let's make this real with a quick example. So look at this paycheck. Let's say you make $2,000. With no 401k contribution, you're taxed on the full amount, paying, say, $400 in taxes. Now look at what happens when you contribute just $100 to a traditional 401k. That money comes out before taxes. So now you're only taxed on $1,900. Your tax bill drops to $380. Think about that. You just saved $20 on taxes simply by putting money away for your own future. That is the power of the tax break, right there.
So, to sum up the deal for a traditional 401k, it's this. You get a nice tax break today. Your investments get to grow without you paying taxes on them year after year. That's called tax deferred. But there's always a catch, right? The trade-off is when you finally retire and start pulling that money out, every single dollar is taxed just like regular income. And the government won't let you just leave it in there forever. Starting at age 73, they'll force you to take some out each year. They're called RMDs, and they're basically the government saying, all right, time to pay up.
Okay, now let's flip the script and talk about the Roth 401k. This one takes the complete opposite approach. With a Roth, you bite the bullet and pay your taxes today, all for a massive, massive payoff later on.
Roth contributions are made with after-tax dollars. So the money hits your paycheck, the government takes its cut in taxes, and then your contribution goes into your retirement account from what's left. The big difference, no immediate tax break. Your taxable income stays exactly the same for the year.
And you can see that difference right here on the paycheck. See? Your taxes are the full $400. That $100 contribution comes straight out of your take-home pay. So your paycheck is actually smaller. You definitely feel it more in the short term, but just wait for the payoff. And here it is. This is the grand prize. Yeah, you paid your taxes up front, but once that money is in the Roth account, it's like it enters a tax-free paradise. It grows and grows, and you never pay another cent of tax on it, ever. So when you retire and you make what's called a qualified withdrawal, every penny, your original contributions and all those years of growth, comes out completely 100% tax-free. It's all yours. And thanks to some new rules we'll get into, you're never forced to take it out. That's a huge deal.
Okay, so you've got two pretty awesome options on the table. Option A, tax break now. Option B, tax-free later. So, how on earth do you decide? Well, it really all comes down to making a smart bet about your future self. This, right here, is the absolute heart of the matter. You have to ask yourself one question. Do I think I'll be in a higher or lower tax bracket when I retire? If you think your tax rate will be lower in retirement, maybe you plan to live a simpler life or your income will be less, then the traditional 401k makes a ton of sense. You get the tax break now when you need it most. But if you think your tax rate is going to be higher later on, let's say you're early in your career and your income is only going to go up, or you just think taxes in general are going to rise, then paying those taxes now with a Roth is absolutely the way to go.
So let's put these two head to head. We've talked about the pre-tax versus after-tax contributions and the taxable versus tax-free withdrawals, but check out a couple of other key differences here. The employer match, for example.
It used to be that any match from your company automatically went in as pre-tax. Not anymore. Now they have the option to put it in as Roth. That's new. And then there's the big one at the bottom, RMDs. Remember, with the traditional, the government will eventually make you take the money out. With the Roth, nope, total freedom.
But hang on, what if I told you this isn't a strict either-or choice? What if you don't have to pick just one? This is what a lot of financial pros are recommending now. If your plan allows it, you can actually contribute to both. This strategy is called tax diversification. It sounds fancy, but all it means is that in retirement, you'll have two buckets of money to pull from, a taxable one and a tax-free one. And that gives you an incredible amount of power and flexibility to manage your taxes year by year.
Okay, and just when you thought you had it all figured out, things changed. Big time. Congress recently passed something called the Secure 2.0 Act, and it's probably the biggest shakeup to retirement rules we've seen in decades. So let's get into what's new, because this stuff is important. All right, first things first, let's talk limits. For 2024, the most you as an employee can put into your 401ks is $23,000. And that's your total limit. You can put all of it in a traditional, all of it in a Roth, or you can mix and match. The IRS doesn't care as long as the grand total doesn't go over that cap.
So this new law, Secure 2.0, brought some huge changes. Here are the big three you need to know. First, like we said, no more of those forced withdrawals, no RMDs, for Roth 401ks. That's fantastic. Second, your employer can now put their match directly into your Roth account. Now, you will have to pay income tax on that match money that year, but it's a great option to have. And third, this is a big one for higher earners. Starting in 2026, if you made over $150,000 the year before, any of those extra catch-up contributions you make after age 50 have to be Roth. The government is basically saying, we want the tax on that money now.
Okay, let's talk about the fine print for getting that tax-free money out. It's called the 5-year rule. To get your earnings out tax-free, two things have to be true. One, you have to be at least 59.5 years old. And two, at least 5 years have to have passed since your very first Roth contribution. That 5-year clock starts ticking on January 1st of the year you first put money in. Hit both of those marks, boom, you've got a qualified distribution and the money is all yours, tax-free.
The new rules also give a major boost to people who are getting closer to retirement. If you're age 50 or over in 2024, you can put in an extra $7,500. It's called a catch-up contribution. But it gets even better. Starting in 2025, there's a new super catch-up. If you're between 60 and 63 years old, you'll be able to contribute an even larger amount. It's a fantastic way to really turbocharge your savings right before you cross the finish line.
So, if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's that you don't have to pick a side. It's not all or nothing. By putting money into both a traditional and a Roth, you're building that tax diversification we talked about. And what that really means is you're giving your future self options. You're giving yourself control. Imagine in retirement, if you have a year where you need to keep your taxable income super low, you can just pull from your tax-free Roth bucket. Maybe another year you have a lot of other deductions, so you pull from the taxable traditional bucket. You get to be the master of your own tax destiny each year. That's powerful stuff.
And that really brings us to the final big question you have to ask yourself. Are you building a retirement strategy just for today's tax world? Or are you building one that's ready for the future? A future where your income, your life, and maybe even the tax laws themselves could look completely different. It's not just about saving, it's about saving smart.